Hello, everyone. This is Lydia. Oh my gosh, guys, I just forgot that I don't have my, or anyone who's watching, I don't know if anyone is, but I just remembered that I don't have my mic plugged in. So excuse me while I go get that. Sorry about that. I thought everything was together here, but I totally forgot about my mic. And I need that because my mic really helps with the sound. Okay, let me just check my sound here. Okay, and I'm plugged up. So started over. Welcome to Returning to Love, which is my channel about where I discuss the teachings of A Course in Miracles. And yeah, I'm doing that every week. And I just have a couple of notes before I get into our discussion on chapter 27, the dreamer of the dreamer of the dream. It's actually chapter 27, section 7 in particular, the dreamer of the dream, that I'm going to be discussing today. Next week, I'm going to be doing section 8, the hero of the dream. But there's each section of chapter 27 is so chock full of information and good bits from Jesus himself. So I wanted to, split them up so that I have time to, read through. I'm going to be reading through most of the passages, most of the paragraphs today, and going through, what I got from them because I get so much from each paragraph. Especially now, it seems like with time, and experience, you can come back and read something that you've read, several times before in the course and you just glean a whole new meaning from it. So, yeah, so I wanted to split the sections up to make sure that I have that I'm able to discuss each one in depth. Okay, so in section 7, the dreamer of the dream actually starts, if you're using the actual textbook, page 581. If you need to know that, page 581 of the text. Okay, so notes. February 1st, I still plan to start the workbook. Each Sunday show that I do from that point on will probably be about the lessons of the week, and or anything that, because when you do the workbook, like every day, the lessons bring up so much. And I'll just talk about any experiences I had during the week and what stood out to me, like any forgiveness opportunities I had. So yes, February 1st, that's when I plan to start the workbook, and you're free to join along with me. Yeah, or when time permits for you, as the course says, time is an illusion, a trick, a sleight of hand. So, also the channel name, Returning to Love. I think what I'm going to end up doing is switching to a channel that's under my name. Like I'm an astrologer, so I have another channel called The Truest North, but that's going to be, I think, mostly astrology videos and metaphysical related stuff like to astrology. I think I want a channel just for, and that's called the Truest North. I'm not sure if I said that. I think I want a channel though, just dedicated to A Course in Miracles, that which will be under my name. And as for the Returning to Love show channel, I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. But that seems to be the way that things are headed with me. And I'm definitely going to keep the Facebook group Returning to Love. So, or maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. So, let's get started with paragraph 1 here. Section 7, The Dreamer of the Dream, page 581, and paragraph 1. Okay. Suffering is an emphasis upon all that the world has done to injure you. Here is the world's demented version of salvation clearly shown, like to a dream of punishment, in which the dreamer is unconscious of what brought on the attack against himself. He sees himself attacked unjustly and by something not himself. He is the victim of this something else, a thing outside himself, for which he has no reason to be held responsible. He must be innocent because he knows not what he does, but what is done to him. Yet is his own attack upon himself apparent still, for it is he who bears the suffering, and he cannot escape because its source is seen outside himself. So what I got from that, what really stuck out to me is that first sentence. Suffering actually the second sentence. Suffering is the world's demented version of salvation clearly shown. And, that's something that I've really been noticing. Suffering in the world is, it's a form of salvation. And everybody, like most people won't consciously understand this or admit it. But since reading the course and like observing around me, I have noticed that people, myself included, like people love to suffer. People love to be victims, and victimhood is something that is really, it's really held, like it's held up. Being a victim is held up, especially nowadays. And it's really kind of an insane thought system. Especially when you notice that we revel in it, and we love, and the course talks about how we love victims unconsciously. This is deep in the collective unconscious, in the mind of the one Son of God. How we love victims, because if there's a victim, there must be a victimizer. And if there's a victim and a victimizer, then that attests to the truth of the ego thought system of duality, and the fact that we exist as individuals separate from God. Because remember, in A Course in Miracles, God is oneness. In heaven, there is no separation. There is no duality. There is no, it's only life, love, oneness, wholeness. It's only life. But in the ego's world, if there's a victim and there's a victimizer, then we exist as something separate from God. So that's why we cherish in the dream of the world, this world of illusions, victims, and secretly the victimizers. So that's what I got from that. We revel in our suffering, and you see people who have suffered for so long, especially working in healthcare. I've seen it. Um, and yet people identify with their suffering. And even when they know what to do to change their situation, um, they won't take the steps to do it. And I've been guilty of this myself. That's how I say I see how it works. I see my own insane thinking, my own insane thought system. Um, I think in A Course in Miracles, and another part of A Course in Miracles, Jesus says, when you can see, you can start to see your own insane thought system, the thought system of the ego, you're no longer wholly insane. So it's good to know that. Uh, yes, so we revel in suffering and being the victim of someone else. And we love to fight for victims, all because it reinforces the ego thought system and the truth that and the belief that it exists and God is dead. Yeah. Also, when you understand like the underlying metaphysical underlying metaphysical reasons for what's happening, you see why it's so hard, let go of the ego thought system. Yes, we can tell it hurts us. Um, but if we let go of it, if we let go of our victimization, if we let go of maybe being a victimizer. There are times when we have victimized other people. If we let go of that, then we let go of this identity that we think we are. So, okay, paragraph 2. Now you are being shown you can escape. All that is needed is you look upon the problem as it is and not the way that you have set it up. How could there be another way to solve a problem that is very simple, but has been obscured by heavy clouds of complication, which were made to keep the problem unresolved? Without the clouds, the problem will emerge in all its primitive simplicity. The choice will not be difficult because the problem is absurd when clearly seen. No one has difficulty making up his mind to let a simple problem be resolved if it is seen as hurting him and also very easily removed. I have always loved that second sentence. All that is needed to escape from this dream of death, because that's what the world is, because everything here dies, guys. And of course, says in another part, that's how you know it's not real. Everything here dies. So we're dreaming a dream of death. And all that is needed is you look upon the problem as it is and not the way that you have set it up. So the problem lies in our choice for the ego thought system, our choice for individuality over oneness, hate over love. And the world, in order to keep the ego, the dream of the ego, because that choice for the ego, that was us falling into a dream in and of itself. But we fell into another dream, a dream within the dream. That's the dream of the world. So the world, we dream the dream of the world to hide the secret dream of the choice for the ego, the choice for individuality. Everyone as God's one son. And so realizing that what the world really is, like learning to look beyond form, that the world is a shield to hide that secret dream, which is just the choice for the ego, um, the choice for the dream of separation, right? So looking upon the problem as it is and not the way you set it up. We've set it up, we've written the script on the movie screen to hide, the projector, right? We've the form, the physical form that appears to be acting something out, like in front of us and involving us. We have to learn to look, and I talked a little about this last week, but we have to learn to look beyond that form, in order to see the truth behind it, which is the projector that it's coming from, the ego lens, that the ego projector that it's coming from. And Jesus says here that the problems that we have in the world, they seem so complicated. They come in a myriad of forms, billions of forms. Bills, money problems, our relationship problems, job problems, government problems, world wars. It looks so complicated, but really here he's saying that it's really quite simple. It's our choice for the ego thought system. You have to look beyond the ego's illusory trick of form to keep you occupied, because the world is just a veil. If you're spending time trying to fix things, being really attached to fixing things in the world, you're really going to stay stuck within the dream, and you'll always feel that lack until you learn to see the problem as it really is. It sort of goes along with that developing of spiritual sight. So also, I love how Jesus said, the problems that we think we have in the world, all the problems, that we have, the problems that we have to solve, the thoughts and emotions that cause us such angst and such grief. They're really just clouds that are blocking. He compares them to clouds that are blocking the light of God. Yeah. Clouds that the ego uses to block the light. And again, the ego is the part of your mind that likes being separate, likes being an individual. Okay, paragraph 3. The reasoning by which the world is made, on which it rests, by which it is maintained, is simply this: you are the cause of what I do. Your presence justifies my wrath, and you exist and think apart from me. While you attack, I must be innocent, and what I suffer from is your attack. No one who looks upon this reasoning exactly as it is could fail to see it does not follow and it makes no sense. Yet it seems sensible because it looks as if the world were hurting you. And so it seems as if there is no need to go beyond the obvious in terms of cause. So here, Jesus is pointing out the insanity of the world's thought system. Who among us is 100% at peace? And this is the norm. This is who we really are, 100% peaceful. But who among us, except I'm sure there are a few people in the world, but who can say we're always 100% peaceful? And if you look at it, it's because of the insane thought system of duality. When you're not peaceful, it's because you're fighting against the truth. You're choosing something that is not, that cannot be. If God is the truth and God is oneness and all there is, you're going to be, when you go against that truth, when you choose to believe in the dream of the world, which is believing really in the separation and that you are an individual, and that you had to get that individuality through, really this is the ego story, the murder of God and of your brother, God, God's one son. If you believe like that's what you were born from and that's what you are, then yes, that is insanity. And yes, that would bleed through onto the screen of the world. And no wonder the dream of the world is as it is. Um, and of course, you know, well, I won't get into that right now. But and so again, the dream of the world, it seems so convincing. Um, and it's hard, it is very hard. I know it. I'm Jesus says, this is simple, but it's not easy for us to do. The world, it seems so real. It seems like we're really in it. It seems like something is being done to you or me, and I have to do something about it right now. Something is imposing on my will. Um, we do have to, like, part of developing spiritual sight is learning to look beyond um, beyond the form, beyond what appears to be happening, beyond what appears to be obvious. Um, because in fact, the cause of your distress is not what's in front of you. The true cause of it is hidden. So that's what Jesus is saying right now. Paragraph 4. There is indeed a need. The world's escape from condemnation is a need which those within the world are joined in sharing. Yet they do not recognize their common need. For each one thinks that if he does his part, the condemnation of the world will rest on him. And it is this that he perceives to be his part in its deliverance. Vengeance must have a focus. Otherwise, is the avenger's knife in his own hand and pointed to himself. And he must see it in another's hand. If he would be a victim of attack, he did not choose. And thus he suffers from the wounds a knife he does not hold has made upon himself. So, although none of this is conscious, I'll just go into the course's mythology here slightly. So we chose the ego's dream of separation, and to be separate from God, that would be the destruction of heaven. And so, in another part of we dream that we have separated, that we have liberated ourselves from this tyrannical God who wouldn't let us have any individuality, right? And in another part of the course, Jesus talks about how deep inside we fear that God will rise from the dead and come back and make us pay for what we did to him. And so through the insane coping mechanism of projection, we ended up projecting the world, and the mind really split into billions of pieces. And there are all these little minds out here in the world, hiding in bodies, thinking they're bodies. Um, and there appear to be seven, I don't know how many nowadays, but 6, 7 billion people in the world, but there's really only one. This is the one mind, the one son of God. And collect your unconscious, the collective unconscious, this memory, this truth is still there. Even though we appear to be in separate bodies, even though we appear to have separate interests, this is not true. And so all of the things that you see um, happening in your own lives and in the world, all of the conflict, even a thought down to a thought of irritation, that's conflict. You're irritated, whatever gives you a lack of peace. So you're irritated that it's too cold outside, or you're not comfortable, or you think of an unkind thought about somebody. Because there's only one of us here, that means you're thinking that unkind thought about yourself. So that's really the truth of the matter. And if you say to yourself, well, he or she is a um, somebody else, they did something evil. Well, he or she is evil. Well, really, the unconscious mind, even though to you consciously that looks like another person, the unconscious mind will interpret that as I am evil. I am not worthy. I'm ugly. There's something wrong with me. And so all the stuff that we see in the world, whether we victimize someone else by putting our own perceived interest above theirs, or they victimize us, um, or you see, victimization out in the world. There's this, somebody's the oppressor, the perceived oppressor, and somebody's perceived oppressed. Really, we're holding the knife at our own throats, and we're all terrified to, like, we're all like, realizing this could be very traumatic. So, and it will be eventually it would be the end of the ego, the dream of separation. So in order to sort of prolong the dream, we have to project that fear, that terror, that fear of God, and that fear of of the fall of man, right? The falling from heaven, the fall into the dream of individuality and separation. We have to project that out onto the world in order for us to continue to survive. Of course, we're not really surviving. Like, this is a dream. We're not really living here. Like, this is a dream of death. But in order to keep the guilt and the fear away, we have to project it out onto the world, out onto the screen of the world. But the screen is really hiding. On the screen, it looks like he murdered her, when really he's holding the knife to his own throat. He murdered himself. So yeah, and we perceive ourselves as victims of the big bad world, which we have no control over. But really, here Jesus is saying it's exactly the opposite. We wrote the script. So avoid holding grievances against people. Simple, but not easy. Okay. Paragraph 5. This is the purpose of the world he sees. And looked at thus, the world provides the means by which this purpose seems to be fulfilled. The means attest the purpose, but are not themselves a cause, nor will the cause be changed by seeing it apart from its effects. The cause produces the effects, which then bear witness to the cause and not themselves. Look, then, beyond effects. It is not here the cause of suffering and sin must lie, and dwell not on the suffering and sin, for they are but reflections of their cause. Look beyond the form. The suffering and the sin that we experience in the world, the pain we feel. You can be feeling emotional pain, you can be feeling physical pain. It seems to be coming from something in the world. But really, all of this is mental. Pain itself, it's a mental process. It's the brain signals being interpreted in the brain, and it seems to be coming from something material, something going on in the world. But really, Jesus is saying here that those are just the effects. The cause cannot be found out in the world. The cause of the suffering and the sin and the pain of the world, it's not coming from what it appears to be. It's not coming from anything physical, anything that's happening in the world. This is there's a deep, ancient, unconscious root that was with us before time, before the beginning of the universe. And it's all due to our choice to the Son of God's collective choice for separation. Paragraph 6. The part you play in salvaging the world from condemnation is your own escape. Forget not that the witness to the world of evil cannot speak except for what has seen a need for evil in the world. And this is where your guilt was first beheld, and separation from your brother was the first attack upon yourself begun. And it is this the world bears witness to. Seek not another cause, nor look among the mighty legions of its witnesses for its undoing. They support its claim on your allegiance. What conceals the truth is not where you should look to find the truth. I think the last sentence sort of says it all. No truth can be found in the world. And I look back, on my life, and I thought, this would make me happy, and this would make me happy. Or if I get this, I'll be happy. But none of it really does. It's just like you're going around a hamster wheel, and you get something, you want something, you get it, and then 5 seconds later, it's off to something else. I need this, I need that. It's just a bunch. We're all feeling that lack from the separation, and the world, the dream of the world, the ego, tries to distract you with, new shiny things. And, if you get this, you'll be happy. If you get this, you'll be happy. But really, nothing in the world can make you happy, guys. There are people, Victor, I think his name was Viktor Frankl. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning while he was in a concentration camp during World War II. Man's Search for Meaning is the book. And he was able to find peace in that situation. There are people with nothing who are at peace. People with nothing who are happier than, billionaires. So it's really peace, truth, like what we're really looking for. It just cannot be found in the world. Another part of the course, one of my favorite passages of the course, Jesus talks about how he tells us never to seek outside of ourselves, because heaven cannot be found where it is not. And, this is like something that I'm sort of like, I'm really realizing, it's not about what's going on outside. It's the inside. It's how you feel inside. It's peace of mind. Because heaven cannot be found where it is not. Again, the choice for separation was the choice for attack. And that is just, the choice for separation from our brother, which Jesus says here, was the choice for attack, which is what the world was born, what the world was born from. So I give you the world. Also, this passage reminded me of John 16:33 of the Bible. Where Jesus says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And, you read the Bible and it's so clear that Jesus, he wasn't living by the thought system of the world. He wasn't living by any truth that was in the world. It came from, beyond the world. So overcoming the world. To overcome the world, you have to look beyond the world, not in the world. You'll never find it there. Paragraph 7. The witnesses to sin all stand with one little space. It is here you find the cause of your perspective on the world. Once you are unaware of what the cause of everything the world appeared to thrust upon you, uninvited and unasked, must really be. Of one thing you were sure: of all the many causes you perceived as bringing pain and suffering to you, your guilt was not among them, nor did you in any way request them for yourself. This is how all illusions come about. The one who makes them does not see himself as making them, and their reality does not depend on him. Whatever cause they have is something quite apart from him, and what he sees is separate from his mind. He cannot doubt his dream's reality because he does not see the part he plays in making them seem real. So, with the course, there's really no more playing the victim. You're not a victim in someone else's dream. You are the dreamer of the dream. You wrote the dream. Um, yeah. And also the part about of the many causes you perceived as bringing pain and suffering to you, your guilt was not among them. Um, you see so many religions and theories that about how we got here. How did we get here? You know, how did we come to be here? Come to be in this life? And never once do you see guilt mentioned. It's never. What I love about the course is like it's um, like the answer to where did we come from. It's psychological. It lies in psychology, and you never, like all other theories of the world or beliefs about the origins of the world and the origins of humanity, um, guilt and things of a psychological nature, they're never brought up. So paragraph 8, and also they're never brought up, but it makes sense because but like an origin of us having an origin of a psychological nature, it makes sense because your state of mind is really what determines everything. So paragraph 8: no one can waken from a dream the world is dreaming for him. He becomes a part of someone else's dream. He cannot choose to waken from a dream he did not make. Helpless he stands, a victim to a dream conceived and cherished by a separate mind. Careless indeed of him, this mind must be, as thoughtless of his peace and happiness as is the weather or the time of day. It loves him not, but casts him as it will in any role that satisfies its dream. So little is his worth that he is but a dancing shadow, leaping up and down according to a senseless plot conceived within the idle dreaming of the world. Yeah, so it never ceases to amaze me, in the course, the way Jesus explains it. We've really made, the dream of the world, only it looks so vast and so big, but really it's all a projection. It's only happening um, in the dream of the one mind, and it's being projected out into a world of time and space, right? It's the movie screen, and the mind is the projector that it's coming from. So really, our true nature, um, we're far beyond. We wrote this whole thing. We wrote this whole script. We're greater than the universe. We're greater than any other universes that may have been created. Um, in the dream of separation, but we made ourselves so small, and in order to deny who we truly are. And yeah, it's really amazing. Paragraph 9. This is the only picture you can see, the one alternative that you can choose, the other possibility of cause, if you be not the dreamer of your dreams. And this is what you choose if you deny the cause of suffering is in your mind. Be glad indeed it is, for thus are you the one decider of your destiny and time. The choice is yours to make between a sleeping death and dreams of evil, or a happy wakening and joy of life. So if you choose to believe, the ego's tell that if you choose to believe the ego's um, if you choose the ego and believing that you're just a victim, well, you're never going to, like, you're just a victim in someone else's dream. You're never going to find happiness. You're never going to find power if you continue to give your power away. But if you realize that you are the dreamer of the dream, you control the power. I mean, you control your state of mind by how you perceive what is happening on the screen. It's all about perception. And another part of A Course in Miracles, it talks about how perception, about how a miracle is just a shift in perception. And that's what Jesus is trying to get us to do here, to shift that perception from just the character in someone else's dream to the dreamer of the dream. You are the great architect, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead a little here and go to paragraph 12. A brother separated from yourself, an ancient enemy, a murderer who stalks you in the night and plots your death, yet plans that it be lingering and slow. Of this you dream. Yet underneath this dream is yet another, in which you become the murderer, the secret enemy, the scavenger, and the destroyer of your brother and the world alike. Here is the cause of suffering, the space between your little dreams and your reality. The little gap you do not even see, the birthplace of illusions and of fear, the time of terror and of ancient hate, the instant of disaster, all are here. Here is the cause of unreality, and it is here that it will be undone. So, all terror that we see in the world, now, from like since the beginning of time to the eventual end of the universe, all terror, all fear, all hatred, it came from that choice for separation, to be separate from God. And as a result, separate from our brother. Because again, heaven is the truth, God is the truth, and God is love. Just one state, just a state of oneness, because love only sees itself. Another part of A Course in Miracles, Jesus talks about the Holy Spirit, which is the right side, the right part of the mind. The ego is the wrong part, like the wrong side of the mind. The Holy Spirit is the right side of the mind. It's a representative for God. And Jesus talked about it's a representative for God's voice to us here in the dream. It's like this this part of God that He implanted in us as parts of Him, so that we can never really leave God. We're dreaming a dream of separation, but because God is always with us, we can never really leave Him. We could never actually separate from God. But when we have the dream of separation, and that dream of destroying heaven through that choice, then that, what we've seen in the world throughout history, what's happening now, and what will, I'm sure happen in the future, it all came from that one choice. And then what's happening here is just a shadowy fragment, a shadowy replay a time loop of that same choice being played out over and over again in the movie of the world. Yeah, so that's what A Course in Miracles refers to as the secret dream. Okay, paragraph 13. You are the dreamer of the world of dreams. No other cause it has, nor ever will. Nothing more fearful than an idle dream has terrified God's Son and made him think that he lost his innocence, denied his Father, and made war upon himself. So fearful is the dream, so seeming real, he could not waken to reality without the sweat of terror and the scream of mortal fear, unless a gentler dream preceded his awakening and allowed his calmer mind to welcome, not to fear, the voice that calls with love to waken him. A gentler dream in which his suffering was healed and where his brother was his friend. God willed he wakened gently and with joy and gave him means to waken without fear. So you hear about some people like being finding the path to awakening through really severe and traumatizing things that happen to them in their life. They're sort of thrown into it, maybe a near death experience or extreme torture. As horrible as those things appear to be in the world, a nightmare, those things can actually be gifts and that they're paths to awakening. But here, Jesus is saying that A Course in Miracles, for those who are ready to accept it and learn it, it's a path of a gentler awakening. We are just, all we're asked to do is to see things through the eyes, see things with Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and to give their meaning to it instead of the egos, because the mind is going to give meaning. It's going to ascribe meaning to the happenings of our lives. So we can either give the ego's meaning to that, or we can give the Holy Spirit's meaning. And really, this is a gentle awakening, where you learn what happens is you don't just awaken from the dream like out of a nightmare. God doesn't want that. But what happens is, your dream of victimhood, of victimization, of terror, unhappiness, it's replaced by a gentler dream. No matter what's going on the screen, because the script of your life has been written. Time is a trick. The brain just decodes it, sort of like a DVD, put in a DVD player. The whole thing is already on there. The whole movie is already on there, but you're just decoding it scene by scene. That's what the brain does. But when we are asked to interpret it with the Holy Spirit instead of the ego, and that's how the dream, instead of a dream of terror, it becomes a dream of laughter. And the path to awakening is gentle with A Course in Miracles. Paragraph 14. Accept the dream he gave instead of yours. It is not difficult to change a dream when once the dreamer has been recognized. Rest in the Holy Spirit and allow his gentle dreams to take the place of those you dreamed in terror and in fear of death. He brings forgiving dreams in which the choice is not who is the murderer and who shall be the victim. In the dreams he brings, there is no murder and there is no death. The dream of guilt is fading from your sight, although your eyes are closed. A smile has come to lighten up your sleeping face. The sleep is peaceful now, for these are happy dreams. The happy dream. Okay, paragraph 15. Dream softly of your sinless brother who unites with you in holy innocence. And from this dream, the Lord of heaven will himself awaken his beloved Son. Dream of your brother's kindnesses instead of dwelling in your dreams of his mistakes. Select his thoughtfulness to dream about instead of counting up the hurts he gave. Forgive him his illusions and give thanks to him for all the helpfulness he gave. And do not brush aside his many gifts because he is not perfect in your dreams. He represents his Father, whom you see as offering both life and death to you. So I think this is one of the most difficult things about the Course to sort of accept for people, that, all is one. So what you do to someone else, what you say to someone else, what you think about someone else or something else or some situation is really what you're saying, thinking about yourself. Because there's only one of us here, folks. And, choosing to interpret with, choosing to give the Holy Spirit's meaning to the events in your lives, to the people in your lives, helps you to develop that spiritual sight so you can see beyond the form to what your brother, other people, what they really are. They're sinless, they're spirit, they're light, just as you are, and they remain in heaven with God, never having left. And the only way that you can come to experience the truth of yourself as, as spirit, as pure love, as beloved by God, as safe, as whole, the only way that you can come to experience yourself as that is by giving that gift to your brother, because what you're really doing is giving that gift to yourself. And so spiritual sight and which is really, giving the Holy Spirit's meaning to people and events in your life. It helps you to, it's seeing beyond the form. Forgiving, it's seeing beyond the form and the role that you've given your brother in the script of this life. Because really, other people are just acting out the roles that we wrote for them. Sort of like actors in a movie. Shakespeare said all the world's a stage and each must play his part. So we have to recognize that. We have to recognize that and forgive them for what they have not done. And so through that, we can see their innocence, we can see their sinlessness, we can see their true face, which is the face of spirit, so beyond this world, so beyond the limits of this world. And through that, that's how we'll come to know ourselves as that and our own true identity as spirit. So paragraph 16, the last paragraph here. Brother, he gives but life. Yet what you see as gifts your brother offers represent the gifts you dream your Father gives to you. Let all your brother's gifts be seen in light of charity and kindness offered you. And let no pain disturb your dream of deep appreciation for his gifts to you. It's really the golden rule, folks. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Okay, so next week I should be back at 7 p.m. to stream live to discuss chapter 27, section 8, which is the hero of the dream. And that's even more like mind blowing because there uh, Jesus, chapter 27, section 8, the hero of the dream. I don't know if I said that, but that's what I'm going to be discussing next week at 7. And it's even more mind blowing because there Jesus really gets into the body and the adventures of the body that keep us stuck in the dream. Um, yeah, so I can't wait for that. Anyone, I'm not sure if anyone was actually watching, but anybody who happens to watch this in the future, thank you so much. I love you guys, and um, sending you lots of love and lots of blessings. Take care.